So hey guys, welcome to another video, and today I want to talk a little bit about WoW Legion because I finally managed to get into it. I even got into a guild with some of my old friends that I used to play with in Pandaria, and I've been playing it very casually, by the way, for about 2 months now. And I thought it would be cool to do like one final video on Legion where I talk about all the stuff that I like and I don't like, and generally talk about the experience that I've had with it so far. And I'm gonna say right off the bat that for someone who plays it very casually, it's really good, and I think I'm able to appreciate a lot of the systems far more than if I were in a raiding guild and I was actually raiding, which I'm not right now. I just don't have the time to sit down a couple nights a week to do raiding. I'm just too busy working on videos all the time. But I just want to say that I do see how some of these systems can be fairly obnoxious for people who want to do progression raiding, like the artifact power system, legendaries, and the gear RNG. But as I've said already, for someone who just plays casually, I think these systems are pretty cool, like the artifact system, for example, where you gather artifact power by doing virtually anything in the game, which you then use to upgrade the weapon that you get at the start of the expansion. So you're basically just upgrading it throughout the entire thing instead of swapping it out as new raid tiers come out. Now, this system can be perceived in two different ways, one bad and one good. The bad one is it's just something you have to grind and you have to get done as soon as possible, which isn't the intended way of doing it, because Blizzard are actively pushing you away from that. They went as far as changing it so to kind of protect people from themselves so they don't grind more of souls for hours on end. The intended and the good way of looking at this is that this is something that you can work towards for the entire expansion. Now, I like this system a lot because you're progressing and you're powering up your character by doing whatever you want. Okay, you can do dungeons and raids or battlegrounds and arenas, and that's fine, but you can also run around the world and do world quests or kill mobs, which sometimes drop a little item that gives you a bit of artifact power, or you can even look around for the little hidden caches around the world, which sometimes have an artifact item in them as well. And this gives you a lot of choice, which is the aspect of this that I really like, because yes, you can run more of souls and just grind artifact power, but if you don't like running more of souls, you can just explore the world and do world quests, and you are still contributing to your character's power. That's awesome. You won't have as strong of an artifact as someone who's grinding more of souls and raiding mythic, but you can still feel the progression. You're still progressing your character and making him stronger. So it's basically a system that makes all the expansion zones relevant no matter what, which is a pretty smart way of doing things. And as far as the other two systems are concerned, so gear RNG and legendaries, for me, gear RNG is absolutely fine. I always get excited when I finish a world quest and the trinket Titan forges up the ass and it's better than any other trinket that I ever got. But I do agree with a lot of people that this has no place in mythic raiding, because in my opinion, once you start raiding mythic, you should get the best version of the item there is. It should have set item levels, set number of sockets, set tertiary stats, and that's it. It should not be able to Warforge, Titan Forge, get random sockets and random tertiary stats. That's bollocks. But then again, I'm just a casual player, so people maybe really enjoy the possibility of the Gul'dan trinket Warforging or Titan Forging up the ass. But I must say that I did a ton of mythic dungeons that were way below my item level, and I was still excited when we got to the end, because woo, maybe one of the items Titan Forges and I'm gonna get an upgrade. And that's another thing that makes me like the system, because in previous expansions there would be far too much content that just had no chance of giving you an upgrade. This way, at least something can Titan Forge and you get something. And as far as legendaries are concerned, for me, once again, it's perfectly fine because I just faff around the world. Maybe I'll do a dungeon, maybe a mythic dungeon or a battleground, but I don't need my best in soul legendaries. And honestly, I enjoy the utility legendaries far more. Right now, I'm running Eco Wraith with Feral Affinity, so I have a lot of movement speed, and I'm also running the new boots, which I bought off the auction house, which is kind of ridiculous. But anyway, even though I personally have no issues with it, I can see that it's a bad system. And the peeps at Blizzard know it's a bad system, because if, for example, you're in a mythic progression guild and you have a legendary that's going to increase your DPS by like 5, 10, or maybe even 15%, and you just don't get it, you're screwed. And the issue I think people have with this is that you will just randomly do something random and you will get a random legendary. This would have been okay if some of the legendaries weren't really good and some weren't really bad. However, counterpoint, I don't think this affects as many people as the vocal majority thinks it does. Because I honestly think the majority of people just get excited when they get a legendary. They don't really care what kind of legendary it is. Of course, it's better to get a good one. But as you can see from the countless montages on YouTube, people just get excited over whatever they get. And I really like the idea of legendaries changing up your rotation just a little bit, you know, using a spell that you otherwise wouldn't use or using it differently. I think that's pretty cool. And I think that's enough about that, so let's talk about something else. World quests. I love world quests, and I love what world quests did to the world of Warcraft. First of all, they give people that like doing quests something to do at all times. And it feels like you're progressing because once again, you're getting stuff from this. You're getting artifact power, so you can power up your artifact. You can get order hole resources, you can get gold, some crafting resources and stuff like that, which is really cool. And I think it was a really smart move to go with the whole emissary thing idea, where every day a different emissary will talk to you and say like, look mate, we need help in Val'sharah, do 4 world quests and you're gonna get a reward. Because this tells people what to do, because I think a lot of people just log in and there is so much stuff they could do, they just end up logging out and they don't do anything. So this tells them, look, you need to go to Val'sharah, do 4 world quests and you're gonna get a reward. And I think it also provides a natural stopping point for people, because there are so many world quests you could easily get burned out if you try to do all of them. And I think a lot of people just do their emissary and then they will look around the map and do the trinket ones and stuff like that, and that's about it. And number 2, it populates the world like crazy, because no matter where you go, at least on my server, which is Drakthul, you will always see people running around and doing stuff, and that's awesome. And I also like how different the world quests are for the different emissaries. For Court of Farondis, for example, it's very Night Elven-y. It's a lot of Naga and some demons. The Dreamweaver's world quests, which is very hard for me to say, are very druidy. It's mostly about cleansing the nightmare and, you know, just being very druidy about everything. Then there is the High Mountain Tribe, which if you've ever played through a torrent zone, you know what to expect. It's full of kobolds, harpies, worms, and you're going to be very tribal about everything. Then there are the Mages of Kirin Tor, which for whatever reason are all about gimmicks and minigames. Then there are the Nightfallen, which are very unique because most of it takes place in and around Surama, which is a beautiful city, by the way. And even though you're going to be doing a little bit of everything because it's kind of a jumbled mess of all the other ones, it feels very different because you have to navigate through Surama. And then there are the Valajar, which are just Vrykools, and that's basically all you need to know because the quests are very Vrykool-y. And I know my descriptions of the quests aren't very well descriptive, but if you've played WoW, you know what I mean when I say that the quests are very Vrykool-y. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot about the profession world quests, which most of the time, at least for herbalists, are fairly boring because 99% of them are just go to a place, pick up a thing, and then you get a different thing. Done. But anyway, as I've said already, I'm a big fan of world quests and I think they were a great addition to the game. And I think people at Blizzard would agree with me because they've expanded on world quests heavily in 7.2. They've added the Broken Shore with its own set of world quests and also a ginormous Legion ship that flies around and spawns portals that spawns enemies that you can farm for nether shards and you can then buy gear. They've added Legion invasions to the old zone, so every now and then a zone will be under attack by the Legion and you have to do world quests and it ends with a scenario, which is really cool. And they made it so that you can get additional reputation with the emissaries, and if you get enough of it you get another reward, so that kind of encourages you to do more world quests even though you may not have an emissary there or you're already exalted with that faction. I'm also happy that professions are back and they matter. You're not just sitting in your garrison hoovering up resources and, you know, sometimes turning them into something useful that you most likely just sell on the auction house. And I kind of like the star system they introduced to professions because it gives you a little bit of progression. So if you pick up a lot of one kind of herb, you get better at picking up that herb. But it wasn't all good. Farming Starlight Rose with just 1 star and failing 80% of the time and getting some random dust instead of the herb was infuriating. Also, being stuck at 780 scale with no means to increase it further until 7.2 release was kind of dumb. And I also want to talk a little bit about dungeons, more specifically the Mythic-only dungeons, which have now been made available as heroic through the random dungeon finder. First of all, the Karazhan rework, where they've turned it into a mega dungeon, was fantastic. I really like what they did with it. The first part feels very similar, though the bosses work differently, and the second part is just complete madness. But I really like the way the Mythic-only dungeons were constructed, because it's so obvious they were made in a very different way to the ones that are accessible as a heroic. The Archway is a good example of this in my opinion because it has mob packs that you can chain pull very easily with a good group, or you can fail horribly even if you pull them one by one with a bad one. And the difference can be jarring. You can run +2 with an overgeared group and fail over and over and over again, and then do a +11 run with people that are slightly less geared and you will have no issues. It's all about the people you have in your group and how much brain they're using to get through that dungeon. I like that. I like that a lot. And I'm not really going to talk about raids because I didn't really do any. I joined one pug for Nighthold and we killed the first 4 bosses. And then I joined a couple of farm runs for Emerald Nightmare when I was farming my Guardian Druid appearance. And I think one of the reasons why I ditched raiding completely is the Mythic Plus system. I can kind of get my fix of PvE from just running a couple of Mythic Pluses. And the final thing I'm going to talk about in this video, because it's been going on for almost 11 minutes, is all the extra stuff that Blizzard put into Legion. All the hidden mounts and items and mini-games, you know, the stuff that people figure out and I have no idea how. That's really cool because it's this moment of, what did I just found something cool. Oh my god, I'm gonna tell the internet. You know, that's really cool. I mean, just look up some videos from your boy Asmongold, right? He has videos on these hidden mounts. You just go to Asuna, then you click on a thing, then you click on another thing, and boom, you get a mount. I love when devs add stuff like this to their games. So overall, as I've said in the beginning, I think Legion is great. And if it came out around the time the Burning Crusade came out, you know, when I was still in school and I could play WoW all day, this thing would have devoured my entire life. There is so much stuff you can do. But I just want to remind you once again that I play casually, so if you're not playing casually and you want to go hardcore into raiding, it may or may not be as positive as it is for me right now, so I would recommend looking up someone like Mike Preach or even Asmongold. And that's pretty much it for the video, so I thank you very much for watching as always, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.